Imagine a war where the pictures you're allowed to see arrive late, they're blurred, or not at all. Reporters are blocked, broadcasters banned, feeds throttled, and a prime minister saying he's not winning the online battle because of bots and algorithms. Today, I'm doing a deep dive into this paper trail of Israel's censorship and anti boycott laws and a humanitarian reality that explains to why controlling information matters. Hey guys, it's Delana. Welcome back. Today, I'm doing this deep dive into Israel's censorship and Benjamin Netanyahu's latest comments about how he's not winning this war. So, what was actually said in a recent press conference aimed at foreign media? Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu acknowledged Israel is struggling in the propaganda fight online, pointing to bots and the algorithms that ruin your feed. He framed criticism of the campaign as part of a global lie machine and pledged to puncture it. Have a listen here to what Bibi Netanyahu had to say.
It's very hard to fight the deception, the lies, the starved children, the pictures of starved children who turn out to have cerebral palsy or other congenital diseases that leave them emaciated. And Israel is, of course, accused of starving children, pretty much the way that in the Middle Ages Jews were accused of killing Christian children for their blood. So, what do you do against the lie that circles the earth 10 times before the truth has a chance to emerge? You have to shorten the war as speedily as possible. And frankly, we also have to do something about the algorithms and the social networks. This is a big challenge. I don't want to dismiss it.
So I do think that the truth usually percolates to the top at some point. I don't think the algorithms can completely take over. But how is this censorship architect? How is it started? And Israel's information controls aren't improvised. They are very much contrived. So how do they do that? Well, first they have their military censor. It's a formal office with authority to require pre-publication review of security sensitive reporting. Then they have foreign broadcast laws. They're used to shutter and block any major outlet's offices, equipment, and channels during wartime. Then we have restricted access, and they've become more and more restrictive with their access as time goes on. This tightly embeds limited independent entry into Gaza and content rules for filming strike sites. So why control this narrative? Because the humanitarian data from Gaza is politically devastating. International agencies have reported severe food insecurity, spikes in acute malnutrition, images of starving children, collapsed public support very fast, limiting independent reporting delays, scrutiny, and this keeps the government's curated message on top. Algorithms can shape what trends, but data and field access determines what we can prove. Have a look at this video right here. It's some independent journalists having a walk around on the Gaza Strip. It is you don't see a lot of these online. A lot of them are scrubbed from the internet, but have a look here.
نتواجد هنا في حي التفاح شرق مدينة غزة. هذا الدمار الواسع الذي خلفه جيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي في هذه المنطقة. نشاهد هنا دمار كبير على مد البصر في كل مكان. هنا نشاهد هذا الدمار الذي خلفه جيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي في هذه المنطقة. هنا آثار أو ما تبقى من مسجد المحطة في حي التفاح شرق مدينة غزة. دمار كبير وواسع خلفه جيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي في هذه المنطقة. استطعنا الوصول إلى هذه المنطقة بالرغم من المخاطرة، ولكن دائما لنوثق حجم الجرائم التي يرتكبها جيش الاحتلال الإسرائيلي في هذه المنطقة. محمود العوضية، التفاح، شرق مدينة غزة. الله يعطيك العافية عزيز.
الله يعافيك. والله التفاح منطقة مخيفة، يعني شجاعية زيتون تفاح ما ضلش بغزة غير 20%، لهيك الحقوا ما تبقى إن شاء الله.
يا رب يا رب. يعني هذا الدمار.
So, do algorithm and bots really matter? Well, absolutely. Platforms routinely throttle, flag, or remove wartime content. Advocacy groups have also documented over removal affecting Palestinian posts. Bottom line, the algorithm can cut both ways. It's convenient to blame it while running your own information restrictions. Check out this video from the executive director of the Israel's Physicians of Human Rights. And this guy, he's talking from front of lines of what's going on. And he's actually an Israeli physician. Have a look here.
Think of the fact that you can't actually use the word genocide that Physicians for Human Rights Israel is using in media in Western Europe and Britain. I mean, it's on the, people can see in their social media what happens if a guest, maybe it's happened to you when you've been on a NATO nation media and you use the G word, immediately the presenter will start to knock back at you.
Right. For one aspect, I think it's a good thing that this word is being taken seriously, that this is what is acknowledged as the crime of crimes. Is something that we take very heavily. We look into that very seriously. We're not just throwing that word around just lightly. So that's the good thing about it. But then when you see a genocide, when you see the evidence on the ground, when international organizations such as Amnesty International, when Palestinian organizations such as Al-Har, when Israel-based organizations such as ourselves and B'Tselem provide the information, provide the evidence, do the analysis, use experts. You're going to have Professor Bartov on your show. People who are experts in defining what a genocide is and letting the world know when a genocide happens. Then I think the media outlets definitely need to take this into consideration. And it is in not just using the word that's important. The Genocide Convention is very clear about the obligation of third countries to act when a genocide is taking place. If countries such as the UK, European countries, the US would acknowledge that this is a genocide, they'd have legal obligations to stop it. And unfortunately, we're not seeing enough actions. We're seeing some statements, but we're not seeing actions to actually save people's lives and stop the genocide.
So there you have it. Yeah, no one's talking about it because they don't want that information out there. So where do the leaders get their facts from? Public claims usually originate with the IDF, spokespersons, and the Prime Minister's office, allied intelligence, and curated embeds in social media. Israel's public diplomacy ecosystem, often called hasbara, coordinates messages across ministries and civil groups. In a censorship environment, responsible journalism demands independent verification. So have a look here. This guy is talking about how Israel needs to control the information spread. And it is actually the guy, you might recognize him. He is the guy that was caught in Las Vegas, propositioning a minor. He's the one that says that there needs to be more censorship. And have a look here. This guy's, again.
He is the head of the Technological Defense Department.
The state prosecution received almost 30, I think it handled 26,000 and received about 40,000 inquiries starting from the 7th of October regarding inciting content, about content that leads to demoralization, about some malicious content. This is huge data. 90% of this data is all under the Meta group, which includes Instagram, Facebook, and so on. There are organized campaigns on this issue. We saw a lot of posts. A lot of posts that the prosecution removed. Several hundred posts of content associated with
It is an initiative that came from Iran.
It is not only about such enemies. We are also talking about activists or other anti-Israeli activities that are organizing against Israel. I also encourage people to report to us so that others can benefit.
I think it's very rich that the guy that, that was accused of propositioning a minor is the one that's talking about needing more censorship. So in this censorship environment, responsible journalism demands independent verification. They need satellite imagery, NGO field teams, and open source messages. This is a video of a guy that was on Theo Von, and he gives really good insight from being on the front lines in Gaza as to what is actually going on down there. And it is just absolutely heart-wrenching.
The moment that you notice, like, oh my God, this is a lot. What type of injuries were you guys seeing come in? Like what was it like, kind of?
Yeah, there were a couple of pattern of injuries. So first one is bullets. gunshot wounds, and they were very accurate, almost exclusively in the head and neck or critical mass shots, right? Every now and then we see an abdominal wound, but and then explosions were the other one. So burn injuries and then projectiles, from shrapnel. That was another big one. It was difficult to process, difficult to treat, difficult to talk to the family members with these children. I mean, you're seeing kids as young as 1, sometimes, infants, but, majority of them are like, young boys, young girls. And it just, why? I love to hear people's stories, right? So I asked this one girl, like, what were you doing through the family? Because I don't speak Arabic. So we were using translators. And she's like, oh, I was just sitting in my tent and, this quadcopter just shot through the tent and here I am, and there's some weirdness going on when a bullet goes from up to down, like people usually get shot from forward to back, right?
Yeah.
From up to down and sitting in a tent is very strange. And essentially, basically, we found the pattern related to when the GHF sites were opening up.
So, the governments are citing operational security or OPSEC to justify the limits on filming live strikes or troop movements. That part is actually legitimate. The debate is whether restrictions go far beyond OPSEC. Hiding humanitarian harm, delaying accountability, and chilling dissenting coverage, it just has to stop. People are actually starting to see through this on the other side. So why do no other leaders do this? It's not accurate to say that no other leaders actually impose speech limits. Many do, especially in war. What's distinct here is the combination of standing military censor, broadcast bans, restricted area access to neighbor war zones, and a domestic anti-boycott framework. Meanwhile, in the US, dozens of states have an anti-BDS law shaping contracts and investments. I talked about that the other day. These are all the states here that have anti-Israel boycott laws. I think it's 38 out of the 50 states have these laws. There's no other country that has those laws. So whether you support or oppose these policies, they directly affect the public discourse. So what can we do as viewers? We need to demand independent access for reporters, read those documents, follow the UN or NGO situation updates, favor sources that show methods like the geolocations, timestamps, corroborations. Confusion is the censor's friend. Clarity is your friend. Abby Martin, she is an independent journalist. She summed this up so well, and she's 100% right. This is not about anti-Semitism, but humanitarian rights. If we don't stand up for what is right now, there is no end in sight. I thought she said this so eloquently, and she is so bang on. And people, it's almost like calling the race card. If you say anything negative about what's going on, it's all of a sudden you're anti-Semitic, which is not true. Sometimes it's just all for humanity. We all see through the bullshit. We're all seeing through the algorithms and the censorship to see what is really going on. It's leaking through. And what she says is so perfect. It's so on point that, now they're in a defensive mechanism. They have to defend themselves against the bots, the algorithms. It's going against us. But the truth, as I said at the beginning, the truth is actually seeping to the top. So they become in a defensive mode. So have a listen here. She, like I said, she says it so great.
Know that it's the beginning of the end of the Zionist state. Okay. The Zionist state will not survive. To stay in the same place, they have to kill and kill and kill. That's the only thing they know how to do. And that's not a surviving strategy. Mm-hmm. And that's not a winning PR strategy for the world. And the more people who wake up, and certainly tens of millions of more people have woken up to the truth, to the barbaric nature of what Zionism is and what Israel really represents, there's no going back for them. So for decades, pro-Palestine advocates have been on the defense to explain why defense of Palestine, why advocacy for Palestinian liberation is not anti-Semitic, why criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitic. That is no longer the case. Zionists are on the defense now, explaining why they support apartheid and genocide. They're no longer going to be allowed in the same spaces as progressives. The whole idea of progressive except for Palestine is no longer real. You are no longer going to be seen as progressive or liberal if you are Zionist. It is a racist, colonial, genocidal ideology, and it has been exposed. And at this point, anyone with a shred of humanity is on the side of Palestinians.
Yeah. So again, that is absolutely perfect. It's bang on. Like, Netanyahu says the algorithm is against him, but here's the truth. When broadcasters are banned, cameras are kept out, and reports are pre-cleared, any unfiltered view feels like an attack. Democracies depend on scrutiny. If you want to know what is really going on, insist on open access, verify with evidence, and never outsource your eyes to any government or any platform. You guys, please like, subscribe, share. We need to share as much of this as possible. Everything seems to be censored or boycotted. We need to keep spreading the word. The US cannot be censored, and blind loyalty, I don't care any kind of relationship you have with anybody, blind loyalty has never been a smart thing. So why does Israel deserve our blind loyalty? It has nothing to do with Judaism or anything like that. It has to do with absolute 100% humanitarian, and this should not be going on. And I think the fact that they want to censor all this information, especially the guy that's talking about censoring the most, the guy in Las Vegas that's propositioning a minor is the guy that we're going to listen to talking about how they need more censorship and that they need to control the narrative, is just ridiculous. So guys, please like, subscribe, share. Like I said, please share, share, share. We need to get this word out there. We need to talk about it. I think the more you talk about it, the more something is more likely to be done. It's like when you shine a light on it, I always equate it to like if you have a room full of cockroaches and you turn on the lights, they fly. So we need to shine the light on this, and that's the only way that we can do it, is by talking about it and not being censored. And believe the gaslighting is just beyond. So, don't not believe your own eyes. So guys, again, my name's Delana. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.